homemade enchiladas. As you can see, me and Jim split that great big one, that last one, because I knew I wouldn't be able to eat Spanish rice that we made. It was instant, homemade refried beans, homemade hummus, homemade chips, and a nice salad. Gonna make some roasted garlic. I just cut the top quarter off of the whole whole head. I'm going to drizzle olive oil over the top. So simple. Preheating the oven at 425, and we're gonna roast it in the oven for 45 minutes. I like to see if I can dig it out first. Okay, it's not, when I squeeze it, I don't lose a lot of it in the paper. Just put the paper back in the foil. Like some of the ones that didn't get cut, like this one right here. I tried to peel it out of there, and then when I squeeze from the top, it just comes out as a big chunk. And I try to get all that goodness out. See, like this one right here didn't get cut. I just peel it off there and squeeze it from the top. If I had, usually when I do this, I do two heads. And then I do olive oil. And I cover them. Make sure they're covered in olive oil. Of course, I'll be using some for the hummus. And there we go. Freshly roasted garlic. And then I'll put this in the refrigerator. It lasts for quite a while. One of my little jars I picked up thrifting. And a can of chickpeas. And then you put the chickpeas in a saucepan with a few inches of water, and we're going to boil them on high for about 20 minutes. I did peel mine. It says you don't have to. And I added a half a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, we'll bring you back. This is my chickpeas that I let cool down a little bit after I boiled them. And we're going to drain them. I don't know about you guys, but I always learned to clean as you cook. That way you don't have a big pile. Jim doesn't do it that way. Alright, and it says rinse off. Try to get the baking soda off of them. That helps them cook, tenderize. I love this little colander I got. Isn't that cute? Circled it. Imagine that. Alright, don't want to stir them up too much because they are very soft. Okay, I'm going to let them sit there and drain till we're ready to put them in to make hummus. Okay, welcome back, guys. I'm gonna fix enchiladas tonight, and we went to looking and we don't have any enchilada sauce. So I looked up a recipe and I'm gonna try this. So let's see what we are doing here. I'm gonna double it. It calls for 2 tablespoons. Cooper's whining because I think Jim's pulled up. Like I said, I'm going to double it, but it calls for 2 tablespoons olive oil. Heat that up, and then we're going to put 2 tablespoons of flour in it, but we're going to, of course, do 4. So this is 2. And that is 4. Work it out for 1 minute. Don't want it to burn. I didn't have my other spices ready. Don't want it to burn. Half a teaspoon. Okay. And I'm just going to add all this, as you can see, all mixed together, and then I'll tell you what's in here. I got to mix it for a minute. Alright. So, what I did, it calls for a 1/4 cup of chili powder. Of course, I'm doubling, so that was a half a cup. It calls for half a teaspoon garlic powder. I doubled it. Half a teaspoon ground cumin. I doubled it. Watch my time. 1/4 teaspoon of dried oregano. I doubled it, and we'll stir it in for a minute. Very thick, tasty. Okay, there's the minute. Alright, We are doing a total of, calls for 2 cups, but I'm doubling, so we're doing 4 cups, and I gotta stir as I pour so it doesn't get lumpy. Here's 1. 2. We had chicken broth, but it also said you could use vegetable stock. 4. Not much left, guys. Finish it up. Okay. Wow, that's all it takes. Okay. Let's combine, whisking, make sure it's all no lumps, which it's pretty much no lumps. It's on medium high right now. Stir till it comes to a simmer. Gosh, guys, that was pretty easy. Had no idea. It says on here too, sea salt to taste, but as I read down on the recipe, you do it after it's all done, after it's simmered and tasted, but up to a half a teaspoon of sea salt, which of course that's one recipe, so it could be up to 1 teaspoon. That was really easy. Put this thing to a simmer. Close up my flour. I keep my flour in a container, but I have it in a bag too, sealed up. Alright, we'll get to a simmer, and then you reduce the heat to medium-low and simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. And then that is enchilada sauce. We'll use it for my enchiladas. Alright, I'll bring you back. Jim just fed. Well, yeah, he went out and threw some corn. The feeder hasn't gone off yet. And all 11 deer, minutes after he crossed over the fence to go back to the barn, they come filing down the hill. Like I said, one of these days, he's probably going to be able to stand right there. All 11. And when that feeder goes off, it is going to scare the poo-poo out of them. Look at that. I just love it, guys. I'm sitting here cleaning up the dishes, waiting on my enchilada sauce to thicken up. And look. We are blessed to be able to sit, and he must be walking. Oh, looking up at him. We are blessed to be able to watch him. couple tablespoons of butter, especially since I'm using 2 onions, and some olive oil. Let that melt down before I add the onions. Okay, now it says to add a little bit of salt on top to get the moisture out of the onions. That'll help caramelize. I just use sea salt that we have. And I'm going to turn this down a little bit. It says I'm going to sit like this for 5 minutes. And then come stir them and keep doing that for about 20 minutes. And we'll have caramelized onions. Let's see how it works. So it's been about 15 minutes. I turned the temperature down and it started to get a little dry. So it said to add some water to it. Close the cooking down so you don't burn the onions. Got about 5 more minutes left. They're looking pretty good. Some of the bigger chunks I didn't cut up small enough. But these are just going to be used in my enchiladas. So, it'll work out good. It smells really good in here right now. Clean the garlic that I did. And the onions and the chickpeas on the stove. Be ready for supper before it's here. Okay, 2 more minutes. Well, looky there. Turned out wonderful. Amazing how 2 full onions cook down to, oh, I don't know. Maybe a cup and a half. That'd be plenty to put in my enchiladas. I'm just gonna put them in this, put it in the refrigerator, and it'll be ready when I start putting the enchiladas together. Look at that little stinker. Just eating away. Little stinker. You see the red pan, you see it's bent. I wonder who that's from. I don't think there's any birds that weigh that much to do that. I'm gonna have to name him, you know. So we're making beef enchiladas, but of course it's venison.
Yes.
And I use 2 pounds. Do my normal, what I do when I cook venison, onions and garlic powder. And who's your sister sauce, as Jim says. And we're going to cook it down till it's browned. 1 package of taco seasoning, about 1 cup of water. Alright, so for the sauce over the top, usually it's a can of enchilada sauce, but we used about 1.5 cups of what I made, and then we add to it 1 can of the cheddar cheese. Whisk it up. I add just a little bit of water, mainly so it's thin enough I can pour it. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of like a light gravy. Okay. All right. We use wheat tortillas. Mixture of meat. And then caramelized onions that I fixed earlier. Cheese. And lay it in the pan. I put a little bit enchilada sauce down on the bottom. And repeat. I can usually get about 4 of them in a pan. And I fix enough for all week, so we don't have to cook during the week. It's just easier on us. So 2 pounds of meat will be about 8 enchiladas. I had to give my refried beans a stir. Last one is either the biggest one or the smallest one. Yeah, it's going to be the biggest. That'll be for Jim. Worked out pretty good. I almost thought I was going to burn. Still won't. Put them right there. Okay, last one. Big one. Alright. In we go. Leftover cheese and meat. Okay, I'm going to try to pour half of this over the top. So we got 5 more minutes for the chips, last batch of chips. And then I take cheese. I do the same recipe with chicken sometimes. For beef or chicken, you can just do the same recipe. 2 minutes on the chips. And I'll bring you back. We'll put it in the oven. Alrighty. So, chips are done. If it works out, the chips were at 350. That's what these need to go in the oven for 20 minutes. And while those are finishing up, we'll clean up our mess. So, I don't know if you guys call it homemade refried beans, but this is how I make refried beans, so I call them homemade. I've had 2 cans of pinto beans, and I added about 2 tablespoons of butter. And I boil them until they're getting tender. We may have to wait a little bit. Not quite. Squish them like easy. Come on, Mark. So all I do is smush them down with the potato masher. I I did add a little bit of garlic powder for flavoring. I didn't add any liquid, just the liquid that was in the can. Down just a little bit. Don't want it to stick. We'll smash them some more here in a little bit. We'll let them boil some more. My refried beans are getting cooked pretty good, so I put a handful of cheese on top of that. And a little bit more garlic powder. Pepper. I think I'm going to turn it off and let it sit there because I can always turn it back on. I don't want it to stick to the bottom. So I've got some tortillas I cut up into little wedges. The oven set at 350. We're going to put them in the oven for 6 minutes and then turn them over and we will cook them another 6 minutes. So we're going to have refried beans. Jim's going to fix some Spanish rice here shortly. It doesn't take it's very long at all. And then here's our chips. Got a little bit of onions left over, and I'm doing pretty good other than everything's clean except for what I just put in there. So I'll have to dry something to do that, but not much to clean up. That's the way I like it. All right, we'll bring you back and let you see the final plate. So here's what they look like when they come out of the oven. Yum! Alrighty, so there's the finished plate. Homemade enchiladas. As you can see, me and Jim split that great big one, that last one, because I knew I wouldn't be able to eat Spanish rice that we made. It was instant, homemade refried beans, homemade hummus, homemade chips, and a nice salad. Looks good. I'll put the recipes in. If you guys give it a try, let me know in the comments what you think. And I hope you enjoyed. Come back and see me. God bless. Bye-bye.